Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another this and that video, so we're just going to get right into it. And I'm going to start by talking about pumpkins. I have a few more little pumpkins left of the pie pumpkins that I need to process, so I'm going to get started on this today, and this is the last left that I need to deal with. And one of the things I want to make with this is some pumpkin spice creamsicles for Mr. Rain. And if you've never seen any of my creamsicle videos, I'll go ahead and link to one of them right up here. I have all kinds of different recipes out there, and basically there's not a lot of measuring. It's just throw it together and make it however you think sounds good. Basically you're just making a smoothie and you're freezing it. And I'll link below to my favorite popsicle holders, and they work really great for us. I just really like how they work. They're so much better than any other brand I've tried in the past, and we've had these for years and years and they hold up great. Haven't had a single one crack on us. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And if you didn't see our last update video with me and Mr. Rain, I did talk about the big pumpkin, the volunteer one that didn't cost me anything because it just came up because the neighbor gave us a pumpkin that you know, she had bought and set it out as a decor and didn't want it anymore, and she said, here, give this to your chickens or whatever. So I threw it out in the garden and let the chickens eat on it. Well, a seed ended up getting planted and I got a nice one pumpkin, but one is enough because that one pumpkin gave us 14.5 cups of pumpkin puree, which is enough for more than 7 pies. So that's pretty cool. And now another thing I wanted to talk about is einkorn wheat or einkorn grain. I finally bought myself a bag of these. I just started with the 5-pound bag because I want to try them out and see what I think about them. I currently have a small batch here soaking, and then another larger batch that I soaked for a couple days and on the wood stove. Now I haven't really looked to see if soaking an ancient grain like this is really all that important, but I did it anyway. And I have yet to bake with it, but I hope to do so tomorrow because the grains I have on the wood stove drying should be dry enough by tomorrow that I can grind them up and turn them into flour and then try making my first batch of bread with them and see how it works. Now I've had people say that it works a little bit differently than your modern grains. However, the benefits of einkorn, from what I've been learning about it, being that it's an ancient grain, it hasn't been hybridized again and again and again. It does have gluten in it, but the type of gluten in it, because it hasn't been so over hybridized and has less chromosomes in it, it is more digestible to the body. And those people, not all people I'm sure, but some people who are gluten intolerant can very likely handle the einkorn wheat better than the modern hybridized versions of that. So I'm really anxious to give this a try. One thing I did do is right out of the bag I tried a handful and ate them just as they were, and I absolutely love the flavor. And one of my favorite things to snack on are wheat grains once I've soaked them. I love them like that. It's hard for me to stay out of them once I've got them soaked, and they're all puffy and just wonderful, and they're just so good. But anyway, I'll be linking below to the Azure Standard einkorn grains, and if you go through that link, that will actually help us out a little bit. And I will be talking more about Azure Standard in the future. I only recently got into ordering from them, and the reason I didn't do it before is we don't have a drop point near us. I have tried in the past to set up a drop point, but they didn't seem interested. I might try again to set one up here in our small remote town, but that's the problem, is we're so remote that a lot of places don't like coming out this way. But I will try again. But here's the deal. Their prices for their bulk items are so good that it was actually worth it to me. I'm still saving money by paying the shipping on their stuff for their prices, and it's all organic and non-GMO. At least I think most of it's all organic and non-GMO. And I was even able to get a good sized chunk of organic cheese, cheddar cheese that hasn't been colored and all that stuff, and it is excellent. And the price, you know, the low price of the items just makes it worth it. But again, I'll talk about more of that in a future video, but go ahead and check out the link to the einkorn grains below, and I recommend you give them a try. Even though I haven't tried it in the bread yet, I'll do an update video on that down the road once I work with it a little bit and let you know what I think. I just know the flavor is really good. So while I'm talking about the einkorn grains, I wanted to go ahead and show you I'm down to just a little bit of my multi-grain hot cereal blend. And I'll go ahead and link to the video I did a while back on making the cereal, the hot cereal, super easy. And the great thing about it, you can make it however you want with whatever grains you want, which means you can make it totally gluten-free by using things like buckwheat and rice and quinoa, any blend of those, and it's just so great. What I'm going to be doing is using the einkorn wheat, and I'm going to be doing probably just that to give it a try to see how it tastes as a cream of wheat type cereal all by itself. I'm really curious, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll go ahead and mix it in with this last little bit that's here of the hot cereal blend, but anyway, that's what I'll be doing with that today. And then another thing I need to do is, after I get done making the cereal, I need to get busy and make some more of my laundry powder. And all I use in my laundry powder these days is my homemade soap, and this is just all the little slivers and pieces that fall off, flakes and whatnot, when I'm making the soap and once it's set and I'm taking it out of the molds, and I get all these little pieces that break off, and so I just put them in this jar, and when the jar gets full, usually by then it's time for me to mix up some more laundry powder, and I use that with the washing soda as well. Just those two ingredients is all I use. 50-50, process it in a blender. I do have a video on that as well. I'll go ahead and link to up here if you want to check that out, but really it's pretty simple. Just the two, process, make a nice powder, and then I use about a half tablespoon to a tablespoon, sometimes less, depending on if I'm using the vinegar or not, because I'm always mixing things around and trying different stuff. I've even tried washing my clothes with just the vinegar alone and liked how it turned out, especially the floral vinegars and those kind give the laundry a really nice scent. But what I'm finding is I'm liking kind of the blend of the two, using a little bit of my homemade soap plus the homemade vinegar, and it seems to get the clothes nice and clean and make them smell nice too, because vinegar is naturally, as is washing soda and baking soda, good at deodorizing. So yeah, that's another thing I got to get done today. And then I wanted to talk about honey. Now, obviously the very best honey you can get is your own raw honey that's right there on your own property. If you keep bees, that is going to be the absolute best for your health and your allergies. If you're not keeping bees yet, like we're not, because we just don't have a place for them that would be ideal on this piece of property. But if we ever do get a bigger piece of property, that's something I definitely want to do. But if you're like us and you can't keep bees or just don't want to keep bees, look for the most local honey. Hopefully there's somebody in your town you can get it from. There are a few people around here that do it, but it's kind of hard to locate them and find some available to purchase. I did have a friend that was keeping bees and managed to last year get quite a bit from them, which was really a blessing. But she's the same friend that also has had the goats. I was getting goat milk from her every week, and that was getting us by. We never had to buy milk because of that. We do a little bit of bartering back and forth, and but they're having to get rid of all that stuff. Things have just changed for them, and they're moving on, and so you know that means no more goat milk for now. But I do have another friend, thankfully, that's going to be starting to offer her goat milk for sale in a couple more months, and I'm so excited because it'll be nice to get back into that. But anyway, if you cannot get any local honey, back on topic here about the honey, I recommend this one. It's the Glory Bee Pacific Raw Blackberry Honey. It is my very favorite. It's very thick and creamy. It has a wonderful flavor. It's one of the best flavors I've ever had. And I don't know, side-by-side comparison between this and my friend's honey that I got is really difficult. They're different. They're each unique from each other, but they were both excellent. So if I can't get local honey, this is my honey of choice. I will go ahead and link to this one below. Even if you're not in the Pacific Northwest, I know this is going to make it much further away from you if you're on the other side of the country, but I'm telling you, This is some pretty tasty honey, and it's raw. So good for you. And the reason local honey, in case you don't know this, is best is because it's best for helping with allergy problems. That's the main reason you want to look for local honey. But if you don't deal with allergy issues, then I would say any raw honey is going to be good for you. So this comes from Oregon. And speaking of goat milk, so what we're down to is when I was getting a lot of milk from my friend, because she'd send us a gallon to a gallon and a half every week, we just don't, the two of us just don't go through that kind of milk. And so I froze a bunch up for hard times, and this one right now is thawing out, and you can see I froze it right here in the jar. I have a video on how I do this on talking about milk, and if I have any more room left up here in the iCards, I'll link to that video right up here. If not, I'll link to it at the end. But how I do it really is I just put the lid on like this until it's frozen. That allows for, as it's freezing, for it to push up and let any air out without cracking the glass. You do not want to put, even if you put your band on at all, just set it on there. Don't tighten it down at all. Then once the milk has frozen, then I'll put the band on, but still I don't tighten it. I just put it on enough that it sits on there. It's not going to fall off, because I keep the jars upright in the freezer. Now, one idea that I got from several different subscribers that saw that video, that milk video, is if you want another way to prevent your glasses, your jars from cracking, is the other thing is when they're frozen, they're very fragile, so you don't want them smacking against each other. And so I just am really gentle about it anyway, believe it or not, me. But all you got to do is wrap some old socks around them, or some people even knit or crochet little covers to go around them, and that way there's some padding there and the glasses aren't cracking directly against each other or smacking against each other, causing breakage. So just some things to consider, but you can check out that video and check out the comments below, because I talk more about other types of milk and how we like to, the different kinds of milk we like to stock up on. I will talk about one more right here, and that is this one right here. It's a whole milk, it's non-GMO, it's hormone-free. I really like this one. It's the best one for price and quality. And so I'm going to link to this one below, because you can also get, here's a great thing, you can also get it on Subscribe and Save. So if you haven't done the Amazon Subscribe and Save, if you can find products that are available through Subscribe and Save on Amazon, you can save up to 15% on that same product, as long as you're getting at least 5 different items delivered to you each month. You can switch that up each month. You can go in and change it anytime you want. You can have more than that. As long as it's not less than 5, you can get 15% off. If it's just 1 to 4, you can get 5% off of your stuff. And there's a few things that won't, no matter how much you have in there, still only 5%, but it's still a really good deal. And that's why I really like this, because best value all the way around, and it's whole milk. It can be hard to find a good powdered whole milk. So I've been stocking up on a lot of this to use for our backups, because especially now that we're not getting milk on a weekly basis, we're having to go back to both buying the organic milk from the store and using some of the milks in our stores, in our food bank that we have here. And it's really been a blessing having this food bank built up. Okay, and then you can see here is my wine, my first batch of grape wine from this year. It's the first batch I've made from fresh grapes, and it's interesting the change of color. And I think I talked about this in my last This and That video. I just racked this today. It's not fully done clarifying, but it's looking better all the time, and I tell you, it has an amazing smell. Now, for those of you who are new, you may not realize this, but I don't make the wine to drink, because we don't drink. I used to like to have a nightly glass of my homemade wine, or honey wine, which is mead, and I just felt convicted about that by just listening to scripture, and it was enough, hearing a repeated message about being sober-minded and sound mind, and just always being sober. And I realized how much that plays into being a prepper, because we should always be alert and of sound mind and of sober mind, because if something happens, you don't want to be under the influence of anything that's going to alter your ability to handle whatever you're dealing with, and that just really made sense to me. And so I make the wine though because it's excellent for cooking with. It adds a wonderful flavor to everything, and also for using as a alternative to vodka for making extracts. Now, of course, it's not going to give you as strong as a tincture because you can't get a tincture with it. It's not 80 proof and above, but it'll give you a nice extract. It just means you have to take a little bit more when you're using it for medicinal purposes. I would say, like with a tincture, sometimes you need as little as a few drops to a teaspoon. I've even taken up to a tablespoon. With the wine, base wine, you might need as much as a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons to get the same effect from that if you're using it to make a medicinal extract. So that's the 2 main reasons for cooking with and for using as an extract. And I've done a wine, I've made like flavored extracts using half wine and half food grade glycerin, a peppermint one that turned out really, really good. And so I've been pleased with it so far. I have yet to try the medicinal ones using the wine, but I have made medicinal extracts using my homemade vinegar, and those work really good for me personally. And so if the vinegar is going to work, I feel pretty confident the wine's going to give me a good, probably even better tasting medicinal extract. And I do have a video out there on making a pain relief extract using, I think in that one I did use the wine. And if I don't have room and the end cards are up here, you can go ahead and do a search on my channel. Just look up pain relief extract and you should be able to find that. Okay, and then one more thing I wanted to show you are these little, we took out the cedar tree, as a lot of you may know, and out front. That was the last tree that needed to come out of the front yard to make room for our mini orchard. And so Mr. Rain's been utilizing the branches to make these neat little salt and pepper holders with stainless steel top salt and pepper shakers. And again, you can find those on our Etsy store. And the other one he's starting, thanks to some ideas from some followers, is making the little tea light holders too. Now I just put this in here as an example. At the time I'm shooting this video, I don't have these up yet, but by the time you see this, they should be up, because we did order, this is just my little tea light or votive holder right here. But we did order a bunch of glass votive holders that will go in these that will look even more cool than this. Okay, well that's it for my this and that for today. Hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.